So the thing to be watching for, of course, is the long-term trends. It's not the breaking of records in one month or another, though we have had a very long string of those in recent months. But the key thing for the future is the long-term trends, and that's been pretty continuous for the last 30, 40, 50 years. And we know why that's happening. It's due to our activities. It's due to our burning of fossil fuels, adding greenhouse gases to the atmosphere.
There are people that have spoken about events like El Nino. Do you think we would have seen this happen anyway?
So the El Nino and La Nina phenomena in the tropical Pacific are really just fluctuations on top of a long-term rising trend. And so when you get a warm fluctuation like we just had towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, we had an El Nino event, that pushes us towards warm records. But as I said, it's the long-term trends that we have to be worried about, because those are the things that are controlling how much ice is melting, how much sea level is rising, how much rainfall is intensifying, how many heat waves we're having. Those are the kinds of things that depend on the long-term climate trends, not just the fluctuations from one year to another.
And you were one of the first people to kind of sound warnings about what was happening with the climate. Tell us, how likely are the goals in the Paris Agreement that the UN's calling for to be ratified and to be put into action? How likely are they to make a difference?
Well, the calls to action are true. They're important regardless of what your target should be. Any stabilization target, whether it's 1.5 or 2 degrees or higher, requires us to have a pretty severe curtailment of CO2 emissions within the next few decades. And any increase above that is obviously going to push us beyond those limits.
So if countries don't ratify it, what happens?
The issue is not really ratification. The issue is action behind the ratification. So if a country doesn't ratify but still cuts its emissions, like the US perhaps might do, then all that matters is the emissions. But the ratification process is encouraging countries to focus on this. It is encouraging countries to come up with plans that involve greater efficiency, switching to renewables, switching to nuclear, and reducing emissions in many different ways. And there's a lot of scope, I think, for increased sharing of good ideas, sharing of technology, sharing of techniques to really bring these emissions down over the medium term. But it's going to be a long road. It's not going to be a trivial thing, and we're not going to be done with this problem in 6 months, or a year, or even a decade.
That was climate scientist Gavin Schmidt speaking to me earlier.